Compliance is about complying with relevant legislation, policy or standards. Depending on your sector, there may also be industry-specific guidelines or specifications that also have to be met. The first thing is to understand which regulations may be applicable. For example, as a minimum requirement, all non-food consumer products must conform to the General Product Safety Regulations. Next, you need to consider how the regulations may influence the way in which you develop your product. Remember, this could be at any stage of the design and manufacturing process. Here are some areas to consider. What is the function of your product or service? Does it have a safety feature? Does it have, for example, any electrical components? You also need to consider if it is a toy. Where are you planning to sell it? In the UK? What about overseas? Ask yourself, is your product subject to specific regulations? And are there tests or compliance requirements which you, as a supplier, feel would be appropriate to apply? You may be developing a proof of concept prototype in-house, and the emphasis is likely to be on will it work or won't it work? At this stage, the regulations may not be your top priority. However, it's still valuable to carry out preliminary research on regulations, what they mean and the impact they may have on your product. This will make you aware of the resources that may need to be allocated for this part of the project. Beyond proof of concept, there's a likelihood that you'll have the services of a designer or manufacturer. It would be reasonable to expect them to advise you about any tests, regulations or standards which would apply to your product or service. Be sure to discuss this with them. When you're thinking about compliance, consider each of these areas. First, the legal requirements themselves. Next, the cost of meeting these requirements, the time involved in meeting the requirements, and the skills that you may need both within the business and from outside. Depending on your product and the industry sector you're operating in, the impact on your business could be quite considerable. Make sure you examine this area and get advice as early as possible.